にかくまだ無事なんだから今のうちに逃げなさい。あのイリアスフィールってガキ、本気で私たちを皆殺しにす
I
る
mean,
つもり
it
だろ
seems to me Shiro is clearly Ilya's weakness.
それはできない。セイバーが
Not
足で
that I
戦って
particularly
るん
want
だ。
to see him rush up and
俺が
punch a little
離れ
girl
る
in the
わけにはいか
face.
ない。
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Stone Face Reactions. I'm Theta, and we're back with another episode of Fate Stay Night on Limited Blade Works. We come back as we normally do, with notes, a board, and some comments, so let's go ahead and do the first thing, which is always the board. And with the board comes the board changelog, where I have connected Saber to Shiro with a green line, I connected Rin to Saber with a white line, I added Kiri Kodamane, connected him to Shiro and Rin with a white line, and I added Berserker and connected them to Ilya with a white line, because as of right now, I'm unsure of her status. I think I said this last time, where I'm confused as to the element of if she's the Grail this time, or I don't know. I just kind of get this feeling like she could be like an apparition that is visible to Shiro or something, but she could also be a master in the Grail War. I just don't fucking know. So it's very confusing to me right now. So until I'm sure, which might be this episode, white line. That said, though, that is the board, so on to notes. I think it's going to be impossible for me not to make the comparison while we're still in the stages where Lessons and I's monthly watch of the original show and me watching this on a weekly overlaps. But soon enough, I'll be way ahead on Unlimited Blade Works, so the comparisons should fall mostly to the monthly side of things after this. I'm sure, anyway. I think I enjoy magic casting Rin more than the version of her that doesn't seem to, by which I mean this version of Rin is uttering incantations and doing stuff all the time, where in the same scenes in the OG, she doesn't seem to be. The biggest example coming to mind is when she leaps off the side of the school and tells Archer to catch her. She does a spell to slow her fall here. In the OG, she just jumps for it. Casting the spell first makes Rin feel more methodical and considerate of what she does, versus what seems like just a more observant but impulsive version that doesn't in the other side. That's just a read I'm getting on the differences between them across shows at the moment. Of course, as I'm indicating, we are still early in the OG show, so it might just be a misread on my part. Thinking back to Fate Zero, where we had Caneth and Waver displaying the differences between the magical establishment and the magical freethinkers in a, greater magical education system. Which, by the way, I don't really feel I'm grasping now that I think about it. If everything is bloodlines of specific magics that get passed down and refined over the years, what does the school even teach? Is there just general magic anyone able to do so can learn, and they all come in with their own magical stuff that they have to keep a secret? Really questions I should have been asking in Fate Zero, but only now occurs to me to question. Either way, we have those two characters from back then, and now in our current lineup we have Rin and Shiro, essentially the homeschool kid and the wild talent. As far as I can tell, Rin didn't go to that academy, or its equivalent here, but got taught at home by her dad. And Shiro didn't get taught by anyone. He's just experimenting on his own. Just makes me imagine a 4-tiered level learning system that places Caneth at the top and Shiro at the bottom. It's interesting that in the subtitle they say brand to refer to the command seal, but in the dub they've chosen stigmata. I guess it's closer association with the Christian mythos and thus the Grail, except that I can't imagine any way someone could view the command seal and liken it to stigmata, which is a wound corresponding to the crucifixion wounds of Jesus. Not every wound to the hand would be called stigmata, or for that matter, a tattoo on the back of the hand. I can see what they are going for, but still makes it an odd choice, I feel like. I mean, obviously, I was going to say, like, point at my hand to be like, if it was like a hole right here and I'm bleeding from the wound, people would say that might be stigmata. A tattoo on the back of the hand? Not so much. I don't know if this is anything to notice, but when Rin is explaining the Grail War information, she gets herself some tea, then apologizes for not having considered Shiro and asks if he wants any. Saber, who is manifested in the room, she never asks. It just makes me think back to Irisvale, who treated her, Saber, like a person in most aspects, to now be silently disregarded except for matters of servant duties in the war. I get Shiro not saying anything. He's in over his head at the moment. So it really goes a ways towards displaying Rin's dismissiveness of the servants, I guess. I feel like they just kind of jumbled up the explanation for why heroes of the past wouldn't be confused by the modern age, and that Saber had been summoned for the last Grail War together in the same moment. Explaining that servants have a basic knowledge of the world into which they've been brought is one thing. That Saber had been summoned before should be totally unrelated. I get that she's a special case, being summoned from the same time and place before her death and all, but if all servants are summoned with the same knowledge of the era, then her brag about having been here before is not only meaningless, it's useless to harmful. Implying that she was here before should make at least Rin, anyways, think that she was either here 10 years ago for the last war, or 70 years ago for the war before that. Meaning she's either 70 years out of date in personal experience with the real world, in which case her summoned knowledge would be more useful and the experience inconsequential, or that she was here 10 years ago for the last Grail War, and that the death and destruction wrought might be partially her fault. Again, I expect Rin might have these considerations and may not as valuable to her. But if Shiro were to have these thoughts, then he might have to consider if she might have had a hand, in the events that killed his parents. But as I said before, he's a bit in over his head at the moment and might not be considering. Well, I don't know if he'd know that aspect there, but when Kirei tells him later on in the episode about the timings of the previous Grail Wars and things that could be psychologically effective as weapons against him later, is all I'm saying. I think the scene where Rin explains to Saber what Shiro meant when he was talking about it being dangerous out at night shouldn't have been had with Shiro right there. I get what's trying to be done, expressing the whole Shiro as a hero thing. Rhymes, not too bad. But we just got him saying that he wouldn't be able to protect them both. Plain as day, that's out there. Having an additional conversation about it in front of him, with him saying nothing about it, kind of just makes him seem dumb, and not even an element of the scene. It would have seemed better to me had Shiro entered the church first, and on the way in, Saber stops Rin to ask about the conversation on the way there, and her confusion about it. Then Rin could explain it in the same way, rejoining Shiro inside and leaving Saber at the gate to contemplate the meaning and implication of it. That way, the forward momentum of the narrative continues while separating the characters' thoughts to what is important to them in the moment. So again, I don't remember any scenes where Kirei and Saber were present to have seen one another, but we've seen servants sense the presence of other masters before. Not knowing how that sense feels, it could be that she recognizes the sensation of Kirei despite never having met him. He was, after all, present in the area of at least 2 of the fights that she had with other servants. I almost want to say 3, but I'm thinking 2 at the moment. Including the last of the war. Alternatively, beyond my suggestion that maybe the dagger Tokiomi giving him maybe having a property similar to the pendant that he left for Rin, that if the Grail did do something to Kirei to keep him alive, Saber might sense him as something other or wrong, and just wants to keep her distance from him. Though, in consideration of the scene, that does seem strange. She's letting her master wander into a place she's uncomfortable to enter, with a person she knows to be another master, to meet someone she may have misgivings about from before. Y'all kept telling me that the Holy Grail of the war wasn't the actual Holy Grail, but Kirei implies that it's the genuine Holy Grail, and I guess, not for nothing, the dub keeps wanting to use Christian terminology where it can. And yet, seconds later, he says that authenticity is irrelevant. I think Kirei is getting things backwards, as a genuine Holy Grail would be the actual Holy Grail, as proven to have a direct connection to Jesus Christ, while an authentic Holy Grail would be one not proven to be real, but one that people believe to be real through faith and tradition. Sorry, there's just a difference in the words being used, and you can't kind of interchangeably use them. So the fact that he uses both, I think he's using them the wrong way around. If you guys are correct. If you guys are wrong and it is the actual fucking Holy Grail, then he's using it the right way. When Shiro suggests that he could use up all of his command seals right then in order to get out of the Grail War, Rin shouts for him not to do that. And I have to wonder why. If he did, he'd not only no longer be in contestation with her, and, not for nothing, no longer be in her way, he might actually be safer. We know Lancer is out to get him, but as a master, there are 5 other servants now after him. Conceivably, if he used his seals, he could just hang out with Rin for protection until the war is over, and not be in competition. Hell, if she has feelings for him, which seems implied, that works out great for her. Better, in fact, than keeping him in the Grail War just to hang out with him or some nonsense like that. The only reason I can think of for her to want to stop him from getting out in such an easy manner is if she intends to use him against the others, since he seems so trusting. I'm confused about Kirei describing someone who attained the Grail before and nothing happening because of their sentimentality. It comes off the back of describing the events of 10 years ago, but almost seems like a completely different topic of conversation. The description fits Kiritsugo, as he destroyed the Grail before completion, and I guess you could describe among his reasons sentimentality. It's just strange that having gone from talking about the person who won the Grail 10 years ago, causing the disaster, to Shiro asking if anyone's ever actually gotten the Grail, to then have Kirei just re-describe the last Grail War winner again. So either he's just perfectly describing Kiritsugo's win again, or someone else in the past, won in a way that came to nothing in a similar description to Kiritsugo's. Maybe I haven't been paying attention, or I don't remember, but what happens if you run out of command seals? It seemed implied to me that it just meant that your servant was out on their own free will at that point. Not that they went away or anything. I mean, Waver and Zero used all his seals, and Ryder remained till that fight was over. Does the connection between master and servant go away when the command seals do? So that they no longer get their mana feed or something? It only raises a question in me now, because when Saber renews her vow to Shiro, she specifically says, so long as the command spells are on your body, which implies to me that the moment she gains autonomy, she isn't serving him anymore. That doesn't feel like Saber, though, so I am to intuit that she'd just be gone after he used them all, or something like that. And my final note here. Rin is, of course, lying about the debt. She brought him back to life. Essentially, I know he was only dying, and not dead. Still, if she didn't do what she did, he'd be dead. And all he did was prevent her from being killed. Arguably, anyways. I have no reason to believe that Archer would have failed to stop Saber in that moment. Nothing but Rin's insistence that it was the case, and she does seem quite biased by it. Now, as I did say, we do have a comment from Fenrir756 themselves, and once again, thank you, Fenrir, for sponsoring this watch-through. And I should say that I have combined two of Fenrir's comments together because they posted essentially at the same time that I was reacting to last episode. So this is the last two episodes' notes put together. Rin's summoning was imperfect because Archer did not appear directly in front of Rin in the summoning circle. See, I guess that's a read on that, right? She must have fucked up because of X, but there's no indication to me beyond that element of it that she fucked up. Like, at the same token, you could take that read as the same thing as someone interfered with her summoning because of X. Ryder's Noble Phantasm is a reality marble, but his is different from most other reality marbles. A normal reality marble consists of a mage overriding the physical world with their own internal world. That doesn't... Sorry, the problem is that I don't have any comparison to that. I don't remember another mage in the world having done that yet, so let's... Tell me that again when a mage does it, and say that's how a normal one works, not compare that to Ryder's. You're reading too much into Rin not having a wish and only wanting to win. The Tosaka's name. The Tosakas were one of the three families that started the Holy Grail War ritual, and I believe the ritual was designed in such a way as to ensure each family would always be able to have a member participate as a master since they are responsible for overseeing the ritual. The problem therein is that you're giving me information that the show doesn't give me. I bet you're not watching my Modao Shi reaction, which is itself a donghua heavily inspired by Chinese lore, and being a Chinese anime, as it were, they don't tell you stuff that they're expecting most Chinese people to know. So I am constantly being informed of, hey, this is what they expected to know as a watcher of the show. Well, I feel like that's what I'm getting from you now, is you're telling me all the stuff that I guess a person who played the games would know. So, because otherwise, of course, everybody knows. Don't throw spoilers my way. The Matau family has been considered in decline as the potential quality of the family members has been on a steady decline. I mean, they said that. That doesn't mean that I believe it. Just to clarify, Shiro is not currently dating anyone. You say that. I think when you have a girl coming over your house to cook you dinner every night, come on. Most heroic spirits / servants reside in the Throne of Heroes when they are not summoned. The Throne of Heroes is a metaphysical place that exists outside of time and space, and the souls of heroes are stored there where they can be summoned as servants. It's probably something that got told to us in Fate Zero, but, at the same time, doesn't really mean anything right now. I mean, unless we, go there at some point, then I don't know what to do with this information. I think I said this before in my last reaction. Unless there's something that applies to the information that you're giving me, I don't actively know what to do with it. I think I said back then, too. The element is that if there's something that I'm questioning or something happening on screen that information applies to, that's where it gets filed away from. Here in the now, that they reside in the Throne of Heroes, that might as well just come from space at that point. It doesn't apply to anything. In Fate Zero, Kiritsugu's special bullet only triggers and completely destroys a person's magic circuits when the bullet makes contact either with the body of the mage or magic the mage is currently performing. When he used it on Kaneth was in the process of using his his Mercury Familiar to create a defensive wall that was constantly being fed magical energy. But when Kirei was shot, the only magic energy he was using was from the command spells which have no connection to his magic circuits, and the energy would already be consumed before the bullet made contact. So when Kirei was shot, he only suffered physical damage from the bullet, but not the complete ruination of his magical circuits like Kaneth. See, the problem is that your findings in this don't line up with your own statement. When the bullet makes contact either with the body of the mage, right, Kirei got shot in the arm. Are we saying that his arm isn't part of his body? Like, I understand what you're trying to say. You're trying to explain away why Kirei could still do magic, I guess, even though he hasn't done magic since then that we've seen. Yeah, it's the body of the mage. You're, I don't know what you're indicating. You're explaining how Kenneth lost his but Kenneth got shot in the body too, so I don't know. I guess that's when you're going to have to re-explain with more notes. The circle carved in the ground of Shiro's warehouse was the circle Irisvale created and rested in during Fate Zero after she started becoming weaker due to absorbing defeated servants. Okay. I assume you're talking about the shed where... Oh god, what was her name? Not Irisvale. Maya. Was that the same shed that Maya died in? Because if that's the same shed Maya died in, that's pretty cool. If it's a different place that I'm now remembering, she was also laying in a circle. I think she was laying in a circle in 2 different places, wasn't she? If it's a shed, that's a cool lineup. Could explain why he bought the property. I would like that more. I would like myself to be correct there. Sorry for the confusion regarding my Unlimited Blade Works name comment. I was trying to make 2 separate points. 1, you were wrong about the name. Everyone wants to prove me wrong. 2, I was providing some visual novel information from Rin's perspective. Regarding Shiro's magic training, the visual novel makes it very clear that the process he is doing to try and improve his magecraft puts his life at risk every time he starts, and even with that, most of the time he practices in the shed, resulting in him failing to accomplish his specific training task. Again, things that the anime doesn't tell me. I mean, it could be an element that this is something that Fate Stay Night tells me, and I'm in Unlimited Blade Works, which is telling me other things that I guess Fate Stay Night didn't focus on. So if you're telling me stuff ahead of Fate Stay Night so that I don't get stuff wrong constantly in Unlimited Blade Works, I guess tell me that. By which I mean tell me that you're telling me stuff ahead of the other thing. As I'm writing this, I don't remember if they said Lancer's true name or just called him Ireland's Child of Light, but at this point in the story, Saber does know who he truly is. If you want, I can tell you his true name in the next episode's comment, if they didn't already say it. I mean, I don't think his name is Gabolg, right? I think that's just the name of his attack or the name of his lance. I know, what's called Lancer. Lessons. I think Lessons was talking about Gabolg too, but I don't know if he was talking about that as the name. I'm familiar with the name Gabolg, but I think I'm familiar with it as an attack name, so that's why if you recall the episode, I said Gabolg just in the midst of him saying it too, so that's where I got it from, the element that I've heard it before somewhere. Shiro knew nothing about magecraft before meeting Kiritsugu. Sure, I wouldn't imagine he would, because the element that they keep magecraft stuff secret from normal people. I guess, though, that would imply that Shiro's parents never told him anything about magecraft, which would then imply that Shiro doesn't come from a known mage family. Just a family that had magic ability that never got used. Shiro's reinforcement magic improves an item's existing characteristics, such as strength and durability, but it cannot fix existing flaws. Well, I mean, unless those flaws are weakness, right? If you have a rusting pole and you increase the durability and strength of the pole, you've fixed its flaw. And again, the element that he's wrapping tape around electrical wire would imply that if you increase the durability of the electrical wire, you have fixed its flaw. Ilya's grandfather was the one who found Avalon, the sheath, and gave it to Kiritsugu. Irisvale was created to look like a full-grown woman, so she is a lot younger than she physically appeared. Irisvale's body itself was the Grail, and the Grail was not inserted into it, and she was created for the purpose of being the Grail. I'm both equally confused by what you're saying, and at the same time, I feel like, yeah, I knew that. I mean, I didn't know the element that she was made to be a full-grown woman. That is different. I just assumed that she was like her daughter. So I guess you're saying that Irisvale was full homunculus, and Ilya is half homunculus, so Ilya is going to grow up, but not to her regular age. She would just grow up to whatever point she becomes the Grail. And I don't think I ever thought that the Grail was put into her, Irisvale. I think I just assumed that she was the Grail for her entire life. But again, the element was that I also thought she grew up to be as old as she was. I don't know. That could be an element speaking towards her innocence, rather. Matao Zokin is not technically a vampire. That was just a derogatory term Curia used to insult him. Yeah, I know. We got the whole breakdown about the levels of, I don't know what to call it anymore. These things from zombie to vampire, whatever. I'm just calling him vampire because that's the first thing he got called. I'm not calling him a vampire because I think that's what he is. I'm calling him a vampire because he's the closest thing to a frickin' vampire that we've seen. A better analogy to understand Kiritsugu's statement of saving one person means not saving someone else is more akin to if one person is pointing a gun at someone else and about to shoot, then you have to choose whether to try and save the hostage or the gunman, and you can't try to save both, but have to pick a side to prioritize. Okay. Here's my problem, is that I think this was in Fate Stay Night. Not the Unlimited Blade Works, but the other reaction, where I literally had the same note, and I think I described it there as, if you shoot the gunman to save a crowd of people he's pointing a gun at, then you have saved a number of people. And I guess you're equating this to you can't save everyone in that you've said specifically you can't save the gunman. But even then, what if you talk the gunman down? You've saved the crowd and the gunman because you didn't have to kill the gunman now. So the element is there's always going to be an exception to whatever rule you want to throw out there. Taiga's family owns the house Shiro lives in, which is why she says it is her house. I think you're... See, you said when I'm reading too much into the Rin thing, you're reading too much into my statement. My statement was against, not land ownership. Homeowners? No, not against homeowners. Landlords. My statement was against landlords. In that the way she's saying it's her house is from the perspective of, well, you're renting from me, I can do whatever the fuck I want here. Which is very much a landlord's position. And I just fucking hate that. So that's what I was speaking out against. I understand what's going on here. Kiritsugu basically leased the property from Taiga's grandfather, and Taiga is his granddaughter, so I know what the relation is. Berserker kidnapped the pilot in his jet, and then his jet was destroyed by Lancer, so he probably either died from the jet exploding, or from the excessive G-forces Berserker put him through when dogfighting Gilgamesh. I mean, maybe. The element is that we never see it, so by the same rule that horror movie villains live in, or anime, anyone who doesn't die on screen, if you don't see them die, then are they really dead? I guess my go-to example would be Temray from Mobile Suit Gundam, 1979, gets sucked out the side of the colony out into space, and you don't see him again for 30 more episodes, and just assume that he's dead, and then we just run into him again. So, you never assume someone's dead just because you don't see them. Sci-Fi Fate would technically be Fate Extra Series, which takes place in the future on the moon in a place called the Moon Cell. I don't know if is that an anime or just a game, because I know a lot of these things are just games, and I don't know if I was asking last episode, but I was asking what these other Fate series are, because I know there's the one coming out next year, right? Rin does not know Kirei killed her father. Well, yeah, I would assume not. I mean, she has a standoffish repertoire with him, but I would assume it'd be a lot worse. Plus, at the very end of Fate Zero, it very much seems like nobody knows anything but Kirei himself. Kiritsugu was trying to prevent any deaths by destroying the Holy Grail, which intended to wipe out humanity except for his family to grant his wish, and he did not know it would cause that destruction. I mean, that's still on him. Look, we can mince words all we want on this one. He still chose what he chose. The Grail was showing him a path to get to his wish, but he could have tried to come up some other way. The thing that we kept talking about was the element that if you can't figure out a way to your wish, then your wish doesn't going to happen. He could have, spent all the time he could, like, beat Gilgamesh, make sure Kirei's dead, and then figure it out. I mean, you got Saber next to you, ask her some questions. The unworthy master Kirei is referring to is himself. Wow, I guess... Sorry, I forgot for a moment that I've combined your two comments together, because I was like, how the hell did you know I already was asking about that? Actually, how the hell did you know I was asking? I guess you're telling me ahead of time, because I just realized those were my notes from this episode, so you're answering my notes before I even asked questions. How the hell does that work? He didn't get to the Grail. Kiritsugu got to the Grail. So are you implying that Kirei is 89 years old? Because we had the Grail War 10 years ago, and then, as I understand it, the previous Grail War was 60 years before that. That's 70 years. Kirei looks like he was 19 at the last Grail War. So, 89 years? Right? So, did he wish for immortality or something? Is that what's happening? I mean, that would explain how he survived. But did he get, like, amnesia or some shit? No, that he wouldn't be able to say that comment if that was true. The element, he's like, I don't know how this happened, but I'll make it my journey to figure that out. I don't know. That raises more questions. Like, how the fuck was his grandpa so old if he was 89 years old? You're just creating more problems in my head now. Oh, wait, you said unworthy master. I thought you were referring to the person who made the wish. I don't remember him saying unworthy master now, though. That's probably why I was equating it to the wish thing. Shiro saying he likes people like Tosaka that way in Japanese could be interpreted as a love confession, which is why Rin blushes. I mean, I didn't read it that way, obviously, because I don't know Japanese, but at the same time, I figured she blushed for the same reason anyway. Saber did meet Ilya and saw Kiritsugu playing with her at Einsborn Castle in Germany. Did he? Well, we certainly never saw Saber meet Ilya. We saw her meet Irisvale because that's where they were. I guess there's an indication there that I kind of just maybe assumed that they summoned Saber at the church in... Sorry, I'm blanking on the name of the place where the Grail War takes place. I just assumed that they summoned her there, but I guess there is the element that we see Saber getting off the plane. So, yeah, I guess she would have spent some time in Germany. Yeah, okay. See, again, it's an element of a thing that I'm sure did not happen on screen, but you're telling me happened, so. I don't think Saber ever met Kirei face-to-face in Zero, unless she was at the church when Tosaka and the Ainsburns agreed to a temporary truce, but she knew that Kiritsugu and Irisvale considered him the most dangerous opposing master. Well, as per my whole note thing before, there was the element that if she could detect other masters like it seemed like other servants could, she might know what the feeling of Kirei is to know that this is that guy. Well, anyways, that was the comments, that was my notes, and that was the board, so nothing left to do but hop on in and see what we get this time.
But before we get started,
Make sure that you hit the like button.
hit that subscribe button.
Comment down below to feed that algorithm.
On top of all that, if you want to watch more shows like this, unfiltered,
Uncensored.
And uncut.
as well as some early access stuff,
You can check it out over on the Patreon.
It's just $5 a month, but hey, no pressure.
There's zero pressure in order to do that. It's just a little bit of extra support, and it would be greatly appreciated.
Alright, well, time to find out if Ilya is Berserker's master.
こんばんは、お兄ちゃん。こうして会うのは2度目だね。
So I'm assuming this berserker is going to be someone called Ogre or something like that. Someone with a nickname Ogre.
はじめまして、リン。私はイリア。イリアスフィール・フォン・アインツベルン。アインツベルンって言えばわかるでしょう。
I mean, if she's been educated on the Rail War. Oh, that's disappointing. I mean, obviously, at the end of the opening, we're gonna get that confrontation there, but it's the element that, you know, you guys keep telling me that Saber has all this information from the last Grail War. The element that now, Fenrir saying that she met Ilya before, then this is actually a person that she knows, although, you know, Ilya would have been a child back then. Not that she isn't a child now, but I guess she's not a child now. She just looks really small. She'd be what? 14, 15 right now? I guess. I'm trying to get, I don't know. I would assume she's like 3 or 4 when we saw her back in Fate Zero. But the element that she knows her, according to Fenrir. Again, I heavily believe it's not a scene that we saw in Fate Zero. But, you know, not for nothing. Sorry, I went to a mind blank spot there for a second. I was just thinking, no, she didn't fight the Ironsburns. She was on Irisvale's side. It's Kiritsugu that fucked everything up for her. And, well, not for her. She was fighting for Kiritsugu, but her whole thing of how can I learn from a man if I only had 3 command seals to learn it in. I guess it's kind of like a betrayal in her own mind from the element that she was more on what Irisvale was about than what Kiritsugu was. And now she's like on the opposite side. The Emiya guy is the hero, and what's going on here with the Ironsburns?
これは凄まじいな。あれ一体だけで他の6機を敵に回せるぞ。
力押しでなんとかなる相手じゃないってことね。アーチャー、ここはあなた本来の戦いに徹するべきよ。
だが守りはどうする？リンではあれの突進は防げまい。
こっちは3人よ。しのぐだけなら何とでもなるわ。
了解した。
エミヤ君。
I assume she's saying 3 of them because she's not counting Shiro as anything.
戦うかはあなたの自由よ。けど、できるなら、なんとか逃げなさい。
He did say he would defend you both.
相談は済んだ。なら、始めちゃっていい？
Alright, I guess that proves that she is one of the masters. You have to figure out how that works.
じゃあ殺すね。やっちゃえ、バーサーカー。
Look, I know that I've been drawn as Archer. 100% still on Ilya's side. Somehow she's still a threat, but a fucking adorable little girl nonetheless. I didn't think she was going to cross the distance. I thought he was going to do something clever, like harden his clothes or something. Did she ever get healed, or is she still injured in the shoulder from where Lancer struck her? Also, I guess the element that her sheath is still missing. I assume he's like Kenpachiing it. He doesn't care that he can see the sword. He's swinging at what he can swing at. I mean, whoever this berserker is, he put the Lancelot to shame. Wonder if he has the same noble phantasm or a different one.
さぞ高名な英霊なのだろう。狂気に飲まれようと失われぬ立ち筋。感服するほかない。はーちゃん、援護。
Saber's constantly speaking up against the enemy.
野生の化身だな。狂っていようと体に染みついた剣の術理だけは消え去らないというわけか。
Yeah, Saber just said that. Also, congrats on actually giving a bow. Have to believe that any other masters in the city just saw that shot go over their heads. I can't believe we've seen 4 servants already. And I only know the name of one. And that's because of a different show. Really expected Shiro to rush up there and protect her from, like, shrapnel flying all over the place. Probably is his nickname or something. Ogre the Immortal or something. Oh, this is his phantasm. Oh, are we gonna rush back to the church because he can't fight there? I guess not, because this has to be church grounds. Or are we counting on the element that Berserker is so mad he can only do what he's told? So he's pulling Berserker away from Ilya. Well, that's disappointing. I mean, realistically, what could you have done? Also, really, just another moment that any other master who had witnessed the shots going out over the city could investigate and just take Shiro out right now. He's certainly more likable of a guy than his dad ever was. Except for when Kiritsugu was on the island. Obviously, we could all sympathize with Kiritsugu on the island. Yeah, like I said before, I think that's Gilgamesh.
鉄面皮にふさわしい笑みであった。良い出会いでもあったのか、琴峰。
まあ、そうだな。古い地期に再会した気分だ。嬉しくないはずがない。貴様の言った通り、わずか10年で聖杯戦争は始まった。監督役としてこたびこそ奇跡の成就。聖杯の実現を願うのみだ。
この地が地獄になろうともか
それは私の預かり知るところではないよ
Yeah, didn't get chosen this time.
殺し合い踏みにじるのは マスターの役割なのだから。主は天にましまし、地の罪すべてを許す。
I was gonna say, are they gonna try and force themselves in as like
まずは待とうでは
an
ないか。
eighth set?
初戦の結果がどのようなものになるのかを。
Sorry, voice broke up a little bit there. As an eighth set, like pretend to be a master and a servant still, since Gilgamesh is something else right now. I mean, technically he's a real boy, but like, what does that even mean? Where the camera went right into his fucking eyeball. Also, I really feel sorry for those families now. Gravestones are not cheap. Here's hoping Shiro's plan isn't to run up on Ilya and attack her. No, it was Rin's plan. Never mind.
怖い怖い。工場もなして襲いかかってくるなんて、まるでけだものね、リン。それとも、これが遠坂の流儀なのかしら。
はっ、海戦ののろしを上げたのはそっちでしょ。始まったのなら奇襲もないわ。それと
Fair enough.
もう一度自己紹介してくれるのかしら。一歩遠い。先にあれを潰さないとダメか。
自己紹介？そうね。あのお兄ちゃんなら考えないこともないけど、あなたじゃ気が乗らないわ。かけらほどの興味も湧かないし。そもそも、ここで死ぬ人間に何を語れというのかしら。
Again, she's still fucking adorable. Her cockiness just makes her that much more adorable. I'll say Unlimited Blade Works so far has so much more enjoyable characters than I found that Zero had.
でもこれだけ高性能の使い魔ならどこかで限界が生じるはず。
素早いものね。特別にもう2は足して
I mean, so far the drawback is limited mobility.
文句はあと挟み撃ちにされたら終わるなら。
正面から撃ち合うの？勇敢だけど愚かね、リン。バンド。あと2体。
And Rin's really a expert in the Jolly Rancher combat.
使い魔の形状が変化した。
セールは防げてもゲーゲンは防げないんだ。楽しめると思ったのにがっかり。じゃあこれでおしまい。はしたない目近には串刺しがお似合いよ。
I guess Ilya's has been getting more solid training over the last 10 years than Rin did. But why didn't he just shoot Ilya?
それとも余計な援護だったかね。
いいえ、助かったわ、アーチャー。正直後がないところだった。それでイリアスフィールは。
すまない。さすがにそこは視界が悪い。マスターである君は知覚できるが、敵マスターまでは追えない。
そうよね。っていうか化け物よあれ。髪の毛一本で使い魔。
Again, I feel like that's a new limitation, and not a limitation that Zero had.
バーサーカーより先にマスターを倒す方針は正しいが、そう簡単にはいかないようだ。となるとやはり。
セイバーに期待するしかないわね。あなたはそのまま戦場を俯瞰していて。私はセイバーと合流する。
了解した。引き際を謝るなよ。
I don't know.
はいはい。
Even if you defeat Berserker, Ilya is still a major threat. She can take out Masters.
父さんが。
エミヤ君。遠坂じゃないわよ。戦う手段がないんだから、いるだけ邪魔ってわからない？何もせずに。
Not a good sign if Rin can take you out in hand-to-hand. Your chances of fighting another master or
俺が
servant.
無駄死にしようと父さんには関係ないだろう。
関係あるわよ。今日いっぱい見逃してあげるって言ったんだから、ちゃんと家に帰ってもらわないと困るの。私が。とにかくまだ無事なんだから、今のうちに逃げなさい。あのイリアスフィールってガキ、本気で私たちを皆殺しにす
I
る
mean,
つもり
it
だ。
seems to me Shiro is clearly Ilya's weakness.
それはできない。セイバーが
Not that I particularly want to see him rush up and punch a little girl in the face.
それは一人前のセリフよ。何の援護もできないあなたがいても無駄死にするだけでしょ。
そんなことあるもんか。体がある限りできることはあるはずだ。
あのね。
それにな、父さん。自分にできないことを人にやらせる気か、お前。
I imagine he just doesn't care how injured he gets if he's like a real berserker, right?
さすがはセイバー。バーサーカーの剣を受けたのはわざとだったのね。
それはバーサーカーをここに誘い込むためか。
そう。遮蔽物のない場所であれと戦うのは自殺行為よ。だからこそセイバーはこの場所を選んだ。エミヤ君からバーサーカーを遠ざけることも兼ねてね。もちろんこんな戦いになったらアーチャーの援護は期待できない。けど相手はアーチャーの野菜無効化する怪物だもの。援護なんて初めから無意味なのよ。
アーチャ
I mean, really, so far, the only hits that have hurt it have been Saber's sword, it seems.
語り合う思いもなく、名乗りを上げる自由もない。我らが交えるのは互いを仕留める剣撃のみ。ならばこそ前例の一撃で答えよう。行くぞ。ここが貴様の七だ。バーサーカー。
I thought she was going to pull out her Noble Phantasm. I guess not. Ah, classic Berserker move. I said Berserker, I was thinking Kenpachi. Forgiveness. I guess that was kind of the Noble Phantasm. Had the big old yellow glow of Excalibur.
離れろってどういうこと？
見事だ。だがそれでは足りない。
What were we saying? You can heal? Yeah, okay, regeneration.
あれはもう時間の巻き戻しに近い。蘇生の呪い。死した瞬間に発動する方が。シロ、来てはダメだ。
あいつ。
Yeah, I can't think of anyone who had the curse of immortality. That would be like that, I mean. Again, every master in the city has to be aware of this fight. Or everyone awake at 3 a.m.
ランク A 相当の宝具を受けてなお無傷なんて。
Did we just
これは
did we just lose Excalibur?
アーチャーの矢だ。
Oh, okay.
それ以外はわからない。くそ。
見直したわリン。やるじゃない、あなたのアーチャー。いいわ、戻りなさいバーサーカー。つまらないことは初めに済まそうと思ったけど、少し予定が変わったわ。
何よ、逃げる気？
ええ、気が変わったの。セイバーはいらないけど、あなたのアーチャーには興味が湧いたわ。
Well, probably the saber is weaker for having less mana.
しておいてあげる。それじゃあバイバイ。また遊ぼうね、お兄ちゃん。
マスター、窮地を救ってもらったのは感謝しますが、そろそろ話してもらえませんか？
そうか、すまない。あれ、
シロ、どうしました？気分でも。
I'm gonna assume he used too much mana and he's weaker because of that. It's either that or he's pulled something that was previously injured. And you know, the 2 times he's been attacked. That was... I'm starting to understand why you guys are saying, like, unlimited money works, because that was a hell of a lot of animation there. I guess really fun show, or really good show anyway. I don't know how much fun it is, but really good show, and I really appreciate the fight scenes. Although, there's still the question in my mind, okay, sorry, I don't know if I paid attention to the ending before, the element of her visiting both graves. I guess that does say that her mother did die. I'm gonna have to pay attention when I'm rewatching for the ending to make notes about the ending. I mean, I kept thinking about adding the characters from the opening to the board because we've seen them, so I can like put their faces on the board and then just move those around later, but I didn't want to. I want the show to organically let me know who they are. Yeah, no, it raised a question in my mind. If he had that super weapon, why didn't he fire that when Rin got Berserker locked down on the ground? I mean, there's always the element at play of anime wants to extend its runtime. The Superman problem was a thing I was just mentioning before. You never start at full strength. You build up to full strength.
あの人、セイバーさんって言うんですか？
外国からの入学者は初めてだな。
聖杯戦争は殺し合いなんだから。
竜道寺に救う魔女か。
あなたには聖杯を手に入れてもらいます。私の望みを叶えるために。
Okay, that makes it sound like they're going to enroll Saber in the school, in which case we're getting more of the high school drama aspect of what it seemed like we were building up to before. I don't know how that's going to apply to the element of the spells that were placed all over, or I guess the runes and spells that were placed all over the school that was meant to, like, what, like, melt everybody down or something? I think that was what's mentioned before. Because I don't remember specifically handling that, right? I think that's still there. And even if, that means that somebody is specifically targeting the school. So I don't know why you would want to bring more stuff into that scenario. And, you know, just for my sake, it kind of feels like everybody that's going to be a master is probably going to be somebody at that school. I think it's going to be everybody that we've already met. But then I don't know how to account for the dead family with the one missing kid. Because I assume that it's going to be one of the school kids, but I assume that's also going to be somebody they're going to be reintroduced to, or not reintroduced, introduced to later. Yeah, no, I mean, this is a pretty cool fight. I love that Ilya is just a fucking badass, but kind of sad that she's a villain now, because I even said back in Fate Zero when we first met her, I want more of that. She's an adorable fucking girl. And even when she is being cocky and overpowered, still fun to watch. But obviously she's not on our team, right? Like, so means eventually we're going to defeat her, and I do not so much like that. But, you know, we'll get to that bridge when we get there. What else was there? Obviously, I think that guy's Gilgamesh. I don't know who else he would be if he wasn't Gilgamesh. Kirei still creepy about whatever the fuck, you know. It feels like the same guy who got convinced by Gilgamesh that tricking people and causing their suffering is just entertainment. So when he say, oh, it's just the master's time to trample and stomp each other, that he's just like, more fun. But I would suspect it would not be beyond them to try and trick their way into the Grail War somehow. I mean, obviously I don't think they can because the Grail determines who's in the Grail War. But technically one of them used to be a servant and one of them used to be a master, so who the hell knows? Yeah, I mean, I don't really have that much to discuss here at the end because this was a fight-heavy episode. Clearly, the element here is that it seems like this berserker is the strongest one so far, but, you know, we haven't met everybody yet. And of course, we might be encountering a situation much like in Fate Zero, where berserker is going to screw up, and everyone's going to rain down on them at once, in which case, I don't know, they did make the comment, though, this guy could take on the other 6-1 by himself. And it's like, well, if that's true, how do we beat this guy? Is it going to be like the immortality problem? Just bury him in a deep hole and forget about him? Like, I don't know. And obviously the aspect of me knowing historical characters is not up to par to be able to even guess who that is. Immortal guy, regeneration powers, curse of regeneration, meaning that it's something placed upon him, not something he wanted. And also the element that he's friggin' berserker, which means this isn't how he would normally be either. Yeah, I got no idea. I got no idea. And again, that's not an opening to spoil me. I want to be able to find out or let the show tell me. Yeah, other than that, like I said, it was mostly a fight episode. Most of the read is going to be on Shiro finding himself, Rin and her desire to keep Shiro safe, I guess. Ilya and what she's up to in regards to Shiro, but also specifically now her interest in Archer. And, you know, just as per my normal question of what the hell is Ilya doing here? Is she the Grail? Is she not the Grail? If she is the Grail, how is the Grail also a master? Because what would the Grail... Well, I mean, I can think of some things the Grail would wish for. One, there's the conceit that if the Grail is evil and wishing hell on earth, then that would be a thing, but also the element that Ilya herself might have wishes. So, yeah. I guess we'll find out, and as I said, I'll come back with more notes, probably some comments, and the board will be updated again. I don't think the board will be updated on the Fate Stay Night normal side until next month, so yeah. All I got to do for the rest of the month is Fate Stay Night on Limited Blade Works, so we will see you for the next episode of that. So once again, I have been Theta, this has been Stoneface Reactions, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stoneface Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe and let us know what you thought about this video, what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?